Good morning, traders. Welcome to another video. IWM. Today is Friday, October 17th. We are about 7 minutes until cash open. Want to do some analysis before cash open. So I started a little bit. We're going to focus on the middle chart, which is the day profile. And from last session, where you see pre-market is around 244.32 right now. What caught my attention this morning was this little area of volume here. Well, not little, but this nice area of volume right here. So if I was to mark that out, I would say where the volume started and where it started to fade was about here. Okay. So in this area right here is where price is at. We have volume POC right at the 242.89 area. There was a previous single print to the downside. So this is where market is playing at now. There was also a previous POC of October 14th. So there's a lot of interest here. So that caught my attention this morning. And we're looking at the footprint chart. You can see that's kind of where pre-market has been playing at, right? Post-market, and then now pre is in that area, starting to fade down from there. Also, that caught my attention. Let me see if I can get my arrow together. Was this here, right at the bottom? Positive delta, aggressive buying into this area here. You can see it in the candles. Aggressive buying with a delta flip. Okay. So negative or the sellers started to pile in after aggressive buyers were being absorbed. You can start to see it happening again at the 935 area, 950, I'm sorry, 835 to about 9 o'clock. We start to see that same aggressive buying, then delta flipping down. So that caught my attention to potentially fade the market today. And then if we do a closer view, well, before we do that, I do have um, volume profile for pre-market here. And you can see red delta means selling, bluish is buying, and there's a lot of selling in that area, right? A lot of negative delta. So aggressive buying coming into passive selling right in that area. And I would probably mark that right at the end of that as where I will see that those sellers start to pile in. And I'll change that to let's say red, just to differentiate the two. Now, if we do a closer view, you can see there's some buyers here that's being trapped. Also buyers here. So there's buyers willing to pay these high prices. What I would love to see at we got 3 minutes and 40 seconds is the market go ahead and fulfill these orders, maybe even this one, and then drop it. Now right now you see we're dropping out of that area of interest. There's sellers here willing to sell here as well. So I would hope that since we have sellers willing to sell at these low prices, we may see some aggressive buying into this area to then fade it back down. You can kind of start to see it here now as this candle is still unfolding, and that would be the last candle until cash open. Well, we can see that potentially they come down and grab these orders because these are low prices. Somebody's willing to sell at these low prices. We may see a pop into this area, what I'm hoping to see. Grab these buyers that's willing to buy these high prices and then fade it down. Or we got now prices here. There's a seller here that's willing to sell as well. Well, this candle's still unfolding, but we may see price drop down. So I do have 245 puts and 244 puts. I may have to add 243s depending on how far we fall. If we fall dramatically, and it'd be hard to catch with 2 minutes and 20 seconds into cash, and we're doing that now. So I may have to add the 243s just in case. I do have this area here, which was go out. This is See, this is single prints from the 14th, which also has a little pop of volume here, which I captured the single prints with the volume. So you can add the 244 calls or 243 calls just in case. And I may just do that if we fall too fast into this area. All right. I'll see y'all in a minute and 30 seconds to cash open. Bye. All right, traders, we are 25 seconds until cash open. And you can see we aggressively are selling. Let me make this a little bigger. Aggressively selling into this area where passive buyers are. Let's see. 9 seconds until cash open. I'm expecting to see us pop, but we have to see. 40, 44, 244 calls potentially. But let's see. Market is opening now. Prices are extremely high though. Look, they finally sold it down, got those orders. 244 calls would be decent. See how they came all the way down, grabbed those buy orders? All right, I'm gonna enter here 244 calls. And it's pretty expensive though. 112. So Delta flip, which gives me that warm and fuzzy after the aggressive selling. 12. 112 to 124. I'm sorry, 122. Prices are high. So 244 calls. See that these sellers were willing to sell here. All right. Look like we are in the money here. So good stuff. All right. See, that's crazy. My thought was to sell until that's it. That is the 112 to 134. So I got 112 to 122, and then I'm looking for 132, which I just got. Done and done, everybody. Look how that massive buying come into this area here. So that a little different than what my analysis was this morning. And now I'm curious to see what happens when we get into here. Let me double check before we talk about it. Everything is good. And you see how we're coming into this area to sell now? Yep, we're good. Okay. So that was the analysis just a second ago, which is insane. So I'm gonna do a bird's eye view of it. I think it's easier to see because it's so high swings. The VIX is over 20. We at 24 right now. So insane. All right. So let's talk about it. So in my analysis earlier, I was looking to fade from this area. I pointed out that this was an area of interest because all of this selling, or all of this volume, I should say, roughly 245.38 to 244.20. All right. So all of that was an area of interest. So that was my original plan was to sell it, to fade from here. But at cash open, before cash open, we faded all the way down to here before where did the market open here? The market opened around here, all right? 243.30. So I was looking to fade from here, but we already did that at pre-market. So the next area of interest was here, 243.44 to 242.58, what we talked about in pre-market. And that was this little area of This was a single print mixed in with a nice little area of, let me make it a little bigger here. Let's see. So it was this area here, single print plus this little pop of volume from October 14th, right there. Right. Okay. So this was that right here, which we bought from. And if you can see, I had to switch it up. And I think I said before I ended the pre-market notes that there are people that are willing to buy at these low prices, that somebody's willing to sell here at this low price of 243.09, 243.03. And then you see some buyers here piling in too, pretty aggressively, 243 flat to 242.88. And then you had another one down here at 242.73 down to roughly 242.68. And you can see pre-market, that's what they were doing at 705 to 710. So being that we opened in this area, this second area from the 14th, I was looking for the buys. I had to switch it up. And the buyers came down, bought these low prices, see that somebody was selling for these low prices. Market came in down to it. Program, algo program was initiated here. Again, even in the last 5 minutes before cash open, there was somebody willing to sell the market at these low prices. Delta flipped red to green, I'm sorry. So if we go back and look at the last time prices were in this area, back on the 14th, let's do a bird's eye view. Here we go. Here's the 14th. Look at the delta, right? We're in this area here. This is the area that I'm talking about right there. Delta coming to that area was aggressive. We had a delta flip slightly, but then aggressive buying continued. So that would tell you, let me get my arrow, that this potentially could be a continuation, right? Because the delta did flip slightly, but then aggressive buyers came back into it and then flipped up here, right? So a little bit of a flip there. Coming into today, so that was a delta green. All right. So if there was going to be a continuation, we need to see aggressive delta again in that area, which we did. We pointed out it turned green. All right. So that was the first 5 minutes. Now it's in that prices in that area, and we are again VIX is way above the 20 mark at 24. So we're going to see some wild swings, which points out this one, right? The last 5 minutes. I mean, the last 5 minutes of cash open, before cash open, was a hell of a swing down. We can see that hell of a swing back up. Now we get into that area of where I originally wanted to sell from, because there are buyers here that's willing to buy at these high prices. So I would think a seller would target these guys like it's targeting this one here. All right, there's a seller. I mean, there's a person willing to buy here, or people, or group of people. There's a bigger player willing to buy at these high prices. So a seller would target and sell to these buyers who's willing to buy the high price of 244.80, 244.72, and try to maybe sell it down. That was my original thought. But you need to see not only aggressive buying, which we saw from the last 5 minutes, and then we're currently seeing now in this 935 candle, we're seeing the aggressiveness of buying. Seeing now some algos are starting to set traps here. So they are targeting these buyers, and there's more buyers piling in. So for in this case, if you're still looking to sell it, I would think about waiting to the delta flip, seeing some evidence of selling, which would be a nice tail and potentially flipping of delta. Because we know by looking at in the past in pre-market, there are buyers willing to buy at these high prices. Look, we kind of start to see it now. There's a nice tail and there's some aggressive selling now happening as well. So they got those buy orders. Again, these are buyers willing to pay these high prices, 242, 244-ish to 242.80. There's even some up here at 245.12. All right, we're starting to see some absorption of those buyers. Delta just flipped red. So that was my original target in pre at my analysis earlier at the beginning of this video. But you can't deny where the money move, right? It wasn't expecting the last 5 minutes before cash opened to actually drop into these lower prices where sellers were willing to sell at these lower prices. And you can see buyers are starting to pile in like, yeah, I want to buy these lower prices too. Flip green, Delta green as well. And we had the rejection of VWAP back to the upside. This would be perfect to sell. This was my original plan, was to sell it from here. 245 or 244 puts. We're starting to see that nice rejection. We got 12 seconds of this candle. Sellers are piling in, piling in. See what happens here. So 244s are going, it's expensive. It's going for $127 with only a 2-cent spread. So that's awesome. See, now look, they're piling in now. After piling in here, let's see if the sellers can actually overtake the market. So they grabbed those buy orders. Remember, these were people who were willing to buy IWM because it's the market that I play or the auction that I play. They are willing to pay high prices. So the sellers went and grabbed those guys and sold it to them. Sellers started piling in heavy and see if we can overtake the market. We already get a nice reaction here. Delta flip too as well. So that two, what did I say? 127, I think was the price tag for 244 puts. The auction market hasn't moved. Now it's okay, now it's 135. So yeah, that would be a nice little $10 move there. At least half of a goal because I'm a $20 move guy. $10, I take 75% off, and then 20 I take off. So yep, that'd be a nice little $10 move. It went from, I think I said 127 to now it's 134. I think it was 136 originally. So that definitely should be, yep, now it's 141. Yep. So that's definitely a good $10 move. So that was their original plan. And I could have been patient with it and waited to aggressive buying, but why not play a two-way auction or at least play where the money's going? You can't deny, let me go back. And you cannot deny, let me make this a little bigger here. This volume node here. There's some action here with the single print. There's some action that's an area of interest. Okay. And if we go back to footprint, this is that area of interest I was talking about. And look what's happening. Aggressive buyers are in the market, willing to buy at these low prices. Now there's a seller here that happened at 950 that was willing to sell to a buyer at low prices. So that's where they targeted. They got these buyers as well to fill those orders, even these here. A sell, not a sell, algo program. Let me actually hover over that one. So algo program kicked in on the buy side and off to the races. From this value area to here to now to here. Now, again, the original plan was to sell it from here, targeting these buyers, and that's exactly what's happening. So could have played the two-way auction, played it up and down, but once I get my money, I'm normally out of the game after that. I don't try to give it back. All right, everyone. So look, right now, 244 puts, which would have been the play, is now going for $150. So it was originally 127, which is high for option standards. And you got to imagine prices are going to be high because of the VIX, that emotion in there. $127 is now $159. And that buy that I had still would have been in the money, right? I did a 244 call from here. That is $122 at the moment. And I entered at 112. So I still would have been $10 in, but would have gave a lot of it back if I held. So that's why I take 10 off the plate, 75% at 10, I mean, and then the rest at the other 25% at 20. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. Please do not hesitate to leave a comment on this video with any questions, whether it's setup of my TradingView charts, better if you wanted me to go into another video to explain the buyers and sellers and how these are some, sellers that are willing to sell at low prices. Buyers are willing, are exactly, they definitely want to buy at these lower prices. And versus here where there's buyers willing to buy at these high prices and then sellers are going to target those buyers to fill those orders. Since you're willing to buy at those high prices, I'll sell it to you. And then that reaction there, that tail, aggressive buying coming to a passive seller, delta flip, that nice tail there to fade it all the way down. So this was a good 20. This was a good 30. What did I say? 127. That's 50. $50 in profit. Wow. I just dropped $50. That would have been $50 worth of profit from this fade down. And I think it would have been here, what I called at 127. It is now 177. Well, now 167 because of this little pop up here. But that would have been the money maker for sure. But both of these were money makers, but this was the bigger one. All right. And VIX is starting to climb back up to at 25 now. All right, everybody. Again, I hope you learned something from here. Please do not hesitate to leave a comment with any questions. If you want me to create a video explaining more about the my setup on TradingView and how I use imbalances, which these are basically imbalances. Red is sell imbalance, green is buying imbalance, and how I interpret these versus the market standard, which is basically buying imbalance is to buy, selling imbalance is to sell, which is technically correct, but I interpret it in a different way. Like I said earlier, these are people that are definitely willing to buy, but they're willing to buy at higher prices. So 9 times out of 10, a seller is going to target these buyers. They will definitely sell it to you at higher prices, but that doesn't mean price is going to continue higher. A prime example, right? Here's aggressive buyers. But what happened? We had a nice little tail down and we start selling down. Here again, aggressive buyers. There are people willing to buy higher prices, but price is still dropping, right? So there's an aggressive seller or passive seller, I should say, that's willing to sell to you if you want to buy at these high prices. But just know the overall move, the money is actually flowing down. Most likely, these are people who don't have this information to know the actual where the actual money is flowing. All right, guys, have a great rest of your Friday. And I will hopefully do another video. It's been a while. I think it's been over a month since the last time I posted. So I'll try to be more consistent. But nevertheless, in the next video, I'll see y'all soon. All right, have a great rest of your Friday.